Alright, here's a problem talking about a data set, and it's wanting us to find S squared and S. So S is the sample standard deviation. We're assuming here it's just 4 data points, so this is probably going to be just a sample, right? So that's why we're calculating S instead of sigma. S squared is the variance, and the variance is just this value squared. So you can either calculate this first and then square it to get this, or you can use your calculator or Excel or StatCrunch to figure this out another way. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to do it in Excel or in StatCrunch, because both of those are fairly simple when you're using the computer. Now if you're doing something like this in a class, if you're doing it on a test, you would need to use your calculator and use the one variable stats to do it. But since you're on the computer to do these, it's just as easy to go ahead and open it up in one of those other programs. So anytime they give you a data set in MyStatLab, there's going to be this little blue box beside it, and if you click on that, you can open it in StatCrunch or in Excel. So let's say we're just going to open in Excel. So you're going to say open here. And so once you get it to open, what it's going to do is it's going to give you the data set that you're working on. So you don't have to worry about typing it in and getting all the numbers right, because the numbers are going to be there for you. You're going to say enable editing. And then you can do this a few ways. One way to do it would be to add in this data analysis tab. The data analysis is actually an add-in. So if you don't see that on your data menu, what you would do is you'd go to File and then Options, and then you're going to go over here to the add-ins, and wait for that to open. And then we're going to go all the way down here to where it says Manage Add-ins and say Go. And then you should see this little box pop up, and so you want that first one, so you would click on it and say OK, and then it should show up right there for you. So what's nice in the data analysis is it gives us a lot of those options that we're going to want for our stats class. So things like the histogram or doing linear regression. And then what we're going to talk about right now is descriptive statistics. So descriptive statistics is like the one variable stats is in our calculator. So if we go to OK, really all we need to do is just highlight where our data is. So I'm going to make sure my cursor was clicked in here, and then I just highlight that data, and so you can see it says my data goes from A1 to A4, right? And then I'm going to click this output range and put my cursor in there, and so I want that because that's where it's going to output my data, so I can see what the mean is and all that stuff. So I'm going to click on there and then just click anywhere, and that's where it's going to print out. It doesn't matter where you click, just somewhere that's not on top of your data here, right? And then the last thing we need to click is this summary statistics, because that is what we're wanting it to calculate, and then say OK. Alright, so here is our data. And so they give you the standard deviation here, right? There's our standard deviation, and here is the variance. So now we do have both of those values. We actually don't have to square it or anything. It's already done for us. So our standard deviation would be 99.83, which we should see is the same thing we got. Let's see. 99.83, right? And for S squared they got 99.67, and that's the same thing we got there. And so you'll notice this also has very similar things to what the calculator would have. It gives you the mean, the median. It does also tell you the mode, which our calculator doesn't do. It gives you the minimum and the maximum. It gives you the range. So it does give you actually more information than what we get from the calculator, but it gives you most of the things that you would need to know. The other thing you could do if you can't get that add-in to work, or you just don't want to do it, is the way you get Excel to calculate anything you want is that you click in one of the cells like I did here, and you push the equal sign, and then you start the formula for whatever you want to calculate. So if I want to find standard deviation, start typing standard here, and you'll notice all these different options here that start with that. So for standard deviation, it's actually abbreviated STDEV. Okay, so if I type that in, equals STDEV, and then put a parenthesis, I highlight my data, close the parenthesis, and push enter, and it gives me the standard deviation. If you want to find the mean, they call that the average. So you're going to do equals average, and highlight your data. If you wanted to know the median, you just type in median, so equals median. And so as I start typing, most of the newer versions of Excel now are going to have this option where it starts to show you the most common functions that you might want to use. And so you could click on it, and if you click on it here, it should come up here, maybe. And it gives you a description of what it's going to do, what that means. You know, if you're not sure what they're asking for in parentheses, it tells you, okay, this is looking for what numbers do you want. It goes into some other stuff here, but it also talks about some of the other things you might want to type in or that are similar, okay? And it even gives you an example here of how to do that. So if you're not sure about something, you can always type it in there, or you can click on it and figure out what they're asking. So for the median, again, here we just highlight that data. All right, so we got our standard deviation, the mean, the median. Now if we did want the variance, we can do equals VAR, I think, yes. So VAR and then highlight, and we get that, right? Or if you don't want to do that, if this is our standard deviation, if we square it, then it will be our variance, right? So we can do equals this, and then we want to square it. So to square it, you're going to do like you would in your calculator. Just push the little house top, and that's above the 6 on your keyboard, and then square, and then you get that same value. So those are several ways that you can do kind of the same thing, just however you want to do it. I like to use this data analysis because it does it all at once. And with that, once you add it in one time, you shouldn't have to do it again. It should be there forever. Adding that in is just going to the file options and then doing the add-ins. But if you don't want that, or it doesn't work with your computer, sometimes it's an issue. If you've got a Mac version, it sometimes can be an issue to put the data analysis on there. So that's fine. You can always just type in something like this. All right, and that would be how you can get the standard deviation and variance on Excel. For StatCrunch, it's pretty similar. If you click here and open in StatCrunch, so StatCrunch is going to look a lot like Excel. Well, now it's not going to let me log in. Let's see. It may not let me log in from this location. Let me see. So it won't let me log in here, but I should have another video, I'm pretty sure, that has one showing how to use StatCrunch if you want to learn more about that. Or you could, on MyStatLab, you can go to some of the StatCrunch videos that are in the student, what is it called? I can't remember now. It's on the menu over there where you pick all the homework and the quizzes. There's something for student helps, basically, and it has like some calculator tutorials, etc. But it also has some stuff for StatCrunch and has some video tutorials of how to do certain things that you might want to in StatCrunch. But if you just want to use Excel, that'll work too. All right, so that is how you do that. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me or mention it in class, and I'll be happy to do some of these type of problems in class someday next week. All right, thanks.